Hello, everyone. Welcome to WLDA AI Talk Show. I'm Asha Saxena. I'm the founder and CEO of World Leaders in Data and AI. I'm really excited about today's conversation. For years, we've talked about automation, RPA, chatbots, data pipelines, predictive models. I feel like I've lived in this world for so long, and we all have. But really, I think we are at this edge of transformation, where today we are entering a whole new world. We've been talking about AI now for 3 years. I feel like since November 2022, it's been the talk in every company, every household. And I always say that we become the heroes now because everybody wants to talk to us about what's going on in the world of AI. What is a new technology and the new evolution? And look, there is deep fake. So there's a lot of buzz and conversation. But now we are talking about agentic AI. And it's not a buzzword anymore because all the organizations are now thinking about agentic AI. This is where AI systems just don't follow instructions. They're acting, they're adapting, and they're making decisions, collaborating with us, just like how they are our teammates. I still remember seeing a demo at the AI Summit in London where an organization was showing how they can have an agent take a role of HR or a recruiter, and you can give it a name, you can give it the context, you can give it, go write a resume, write a job description for me. And this agent would go out and do exactly that, become a recruiter or a HR associate who would write the job, screen the resume, and bring you back the resume. It's sometimes learning and improving constantly. So think about AI Copilot that doesn't just assist, it's actually anticipating. AI agents that can solve your customer issues in real time. It can optimize operations in midstream or trigger actions autonomously. And the promise is there. This is a big leap forward now from just having a conversation with your chatbot to your agent actually performing on the action. And a lot of organizations, a lot of enterprises are actively piloting these systems right now. And as I think about this topic, I landed up having this conversation with Danielle recently, and I couldn't help but to invite her here to have this conversation, unpack a little bit about what it all means in the real world. And I'm so happy, Danielle, you are here. I'm so excited to welcome you to this show, to LinkedIn Live, where the LinkedIn Live audience, I feel like LinkedIn has become a professional family where people engage, share, collaborate, learn from each other. And today, I'm happy that we are having this conversation with this audience. So welcome to the show. You've spent several years in American Express, Albertson, and now you're the EVP of digital strategy at WNS. You've taken complex idea, turned them into real scalable business solutions. So before we go any further, I want to welcome you to the show, and I'm really looking forward to have this conversation with you.
Thank you, Asha, so much.
So before we go further, I kind of gave a little snapshot of your journey, but I would love for you to talk a little bit more about your background, maybe dive a little bit into agentic AI. Take a moment to tell us about your background, your current role, and what drew you to the space of intersection of data, strategy, and I would say probably innovation.
So yeah, Asha, I've got so many years working in transformation. I would say that that's the key theme throughout my entire journey. I spent almost 20 years at American Express, working in 4 different lines of business, always with a lens to transformation. whether that was in fraud risk management or in digital product or in the data space. So all the way throughout, it was always things that the company had pretty much not done before. And so that was a theme throughout that. And then I went on to Albertsons to build their data team from scratch, so their data office from scratch. And then after doing that role, just spent some time investigating and being out in the consulting world, and learning a lot about the changes in technology in the space. And then was, lured back into corporate world to do the digital strategy and alliances role at WNS, which is a global business process management company, who's going through obviously a lot of change. All of these services industries, whether they be tech services or business process services, are going to go through massive change with the AI evolution, and particularly with Agentic. And so getting the opportunity to do this role and really help lead this organization into the future was incredibly appealing to me. And that's what we've been doing over the last 7 months that I've been at WNS.
And I feel like what a great time right now with, people say that it's kind of, some people are nervous about it. There's so much change coming your way, but I also say it's an opportunity for you to expand and evolve. You as a professional to stretch yourself to see what's possible is incredible now. Yeah, I was at Columbia yesterday. Was it yesterday or day before teaching? And one of my students said that, but there's so many people who are not getting jobs. And I said, but think about all the jobs that can be created. How do you differentiate yourself? It doesn't matter if you're in engineering or you're in business or you're in finance. I think every field needs to, every professional in every field needs to really get comfortable with this technology.
Yeah.
But when I think about your experience, and you know uh, AI has been evolving from dashboards to decision support system to predictive modeling, right? So we've seen that. You and I have seen the progression happen. But now agentic systems where they can act or adapt or collaborate, we are not no longer just talking about optimizing campaigns or detecting anomalies, which we did in our careers before. But today, AI can help onboard a customer trigger, a supply chain response, or personalize the entire sales cycle. And sometimes it's without human prompting, so that's where we are kind of heading towards. This shift requires not just the new technology, but also enterprise thinking. The whole change management or the new kind of leadership is important now. So tell me a little bit about what you've been doing as you think about AI and data transformation, and some of these data rich regulated organizations, from American Express to Albertson and now WNS. How has your journey shaped the way you think about agentic AI? And what feels fundamentally different about this phase of AI compared to the early days of data science and machine learning to you?
Yeah, so I think that there are a lot of analogies, right? So while the underneath technology is far more sophisticated, the overall process end to end and what the business needs to solve hasn't really changed. We
Yes.
just are going to find new and better ways to be productive about it. And I don't think any of us should be afraid of a productivity miracle. It's always been a gain for humanity throughout, whether we're talking about trains, talking about planes, talking about, the personal computer, we're talking about the, .com, like all of it has been a net gain for humanity. And so I don't think it's anything for any of us to be afraid of. We just have to be more creative and think about what new jobs, to your point, we're going to create as a society, and there will be a lot of them. So I think that from my journey, I look at it and I see that I've been through probably in my career, I've been through like 3 or 4 major data transformations already. So to me, this is yet another one, and it's an exciting one. It is a step function change, but I would say that big data was also a step function change in the past. And so I look at it from the perspective of, okay, the analogies are we have this underneath the hood, new, fantastic technology, and how do we use it to solve the end-to-end business problems? Using the same kind of business process orchestration thinking that we've used in the past, just with new tools under the hood.
I couldn't agree more, because I do feel that the principles remain the same. It's like, are you bringing value to the business? Are you collaborating? Is there alignment? Which is a big challenge usually when you any transformation. Alignment becomes really critical. Governance is really critical. So as you think about the old principles, don't go away. Keep it simple. What is the user feedback? So I think all that we've learned in our last, I feel like in my last 3 decades, those principles still stay put together. It's the technology is new and how fast we are learning. I feel like we are entering this age where we all have to be lifelong learners. We have to be curious. We have to ask good questions. So I feel that we have to stay in that realm of being engaged with our community. If you're in technology, be engaged with business. If you're in business, actively engage with your technology partners, to make sure you're delivering. So I love what you said. But let's talk about agentic AI. When you talk about agentic AI, it can sometimes sound futuristic, like autonomous systems making decisions on their own. And I think that just recently, I think there was this article about OpenAI saying that in the lab, sometimes it can go rogue. But if you truly think about the magic that happens, the positive side of it, the magic happens when these intelligent agents are grounded in the good data or strong governance or clear outcome. And I think the whole WLDA community was created because of that. We said we want to build this community because we want to have the good governance and have the good data and make sure that we stand by responsible AI. But when I look at you, Danielle, to me, we are not just experimenting with AI anymore. We are entering this world. In fact, you've taken this job to figure out how to operationalize AI within large organization. We're still in the early stages of pairing agentic AI with trusted data foundation. We are still in the early stage of finding some good use cases, but the goal is to reduce the false positives in fraud detection, or adapting marketing that can give us the real time streaming BPO workflows at scale. So when you think about the real world use cases, what do you think, where can we actually have an impact with agentic AI? Where can we think about the strong governance or delivering measurable results? As the LinkedIn audience is engaging, I think we all have these questions. Is that, yes, agentic AI does promise the world to us, the magic to us, but how do we create that balance between the good and bad? And I'm sure there'll be a lot of failures. I mean, you can't just execute. But what should we be thinking about?
Yeah, I think that first go back to the business problems, and particularly those processes that have been difficult to solve in the past. So I'll give a specific example. One of the things that WNS is known for is our support of insurance, right? So in the insurance space, there are a lot of cases that go unrecovered, right? And that was mainly because from a cost perspective, it was difficult to go through all the documentation again, have a human being do that process, and then work with the other insurance company and do the back and forth and all, right? But the research part of recovery has become automated. You can automate it with an agentic AI solution. And you can then take that and go, okay, what are the cases that have the best possibility for a return on investment? And you can optimize those and then just work those specific cases, because now you can bring all that data together that was so difficult to bring together before generative AI existed. And you can create an entirely new way of working that business to create more, revenue for the company. So and then this is a way that we as WNS help our insurance companies that work with us to get more value out of their data. And we have the business, process folks that can actually do the last mile of that as well. So we have both the agentic solution, the last mile people to be able to deliver end to end for our clients.
When you think about the agents and now agents talking to agent, I don't know if you saw that little clip that was going around where the agent dials in, I want to make the reservation, for my human in this restaurant. And then said, oh, you're an agent? I'm an agent too. And they're like, oh, skip the human language. Let's go on gibberish. And they start talking in gibberish. And I think that little clip was going around on LinkedIn. And it kind of makes you think. It's sometimes scary that this is the new world we are creating, and this morning I was actually working on a digital twin project, and my team was sitting around and we were looking at the digital twin, and we all like paused for a minute, and then we looked at each other and we said, this is kind of scary, so there is a lot of promise, and we are entering into this new world where we'll have Amy who's human and John who's agent, and we all are sitting together and working in this work environment. uh, and the more I'm having these conversations on LinkedIn and otherwise with clients all the time, and the more we think about these conversations, the more one thing becomes clear to me, that AI is not just a technology challenge, it's going to become a leadership challenge, how we navigate. I
For
mean,
sure.
we can have the best models, the best infrastructure, but if the best team, but somewhere I feel like we are diving into so much more. And responsible, ethical, the governance, and I spoke about that a little bit before, but it's really, as a CEO, when you're thinking about the data lens, or the CMO is thinking about the customer, customer satisfaction or customer intake, or the CFO is thinking about the ROI questions, or the CEO is thinking about the value and vision, and you're dealing with the board constantly, you're talking to these senior leaders as you think about the AI. How are you addressing this ethical, explainable, human aligned, and especially in this world of agentic AI?
Yeah, and we absolutely have a responsible AI program at WNS. And it is essential that we make sure that we're following that program with everything that we build. So making sure that it's human-centered, and that it is, data-centered, and that there's governance and guardrails around that is essential to everything that we do. So all the folks across all the organizations at WNS know the principles of responsible AI when they're building for them. And in fact, we are working on our own solution for our clients for responsible AI to make sure that they have the right guardrails for their business. Because some businesses, to your example earlier, if you're making a restaurant reservation, not a high risk scenario, right?
Yeah.
But if you're in a highly regulated financial services environment, and are governed by those very specific, compliance and regulatory frameworks, then you need to be able to demonstrate that you're following those frameworks. And we need to be able to demonstrate that we're following those frameworks on behalf of our clients at WNS.
What would it be? So, as we come to a close, and I feel like these conversations I can always go for hours and hours, but as we come to the end of this session, what would be one takeaway you think the listeners should be thinking about as they're entering this whole agentic AI world?
I think the main takeaway I would give people is only be afraid of it if you're dealing with high risk scenarios, right? And so my suggestion would be start with lower risk scenarios, maybe that hanging fruit that wasn't so low in the past, right? But these tools can apply to, like the recovery as a service example. And think about those things you're not doing because they weren't possible in the past, but are low risk, right? And tackle those use cases first. Make sure they apply to your overall business strategy. And choose those and go after it. Test and learn, make it happen, use trusted providers to help you out with it. That would be my suggestion to everybody listening. Don't be afraid of it, because if you're afraid of it, you will be disrupted.
I love that.
Not a question, you will be disrupted. So get after it. But be very, cognizant of the use cases that you choose. And they're not always the shiniest of objects. They're the things that you couldn't do in the past that you should do and that are valuable to your business. and low
Right.
risk.
Right. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for attending this conversation. I think it starts from having a conversation. It starts from learning from each other, learning from the industry leaders. And to me, what stood out is going back to basics, sticking to what we have been using and making sure we think about how we blend the big picture vision with ground level execution. I think it's all about execution. AI is not just a buzzword, as Danielle said. It's truly about not being scared, being engaged in a way that you can take advantage and find opportunities to benefit you and your organization, thinking about the outcome, really thinking about how agentic AI can help reimagine our world, how we can work together with humans and machines side by side. It's not science fiction, it's happening now. And to everyone who's been listening, I would say that the next chapter of AI isn't just about data pipelines and models. It's really about the culture, leadership, and trust. So think about within your organization, where is innovation? Innovation at scale. I always say if you can't scale something, it's not going to grow. Think about governance. It starts from very beginning of your life cycle, and it's always about value creation and intentional value creation. At WLDA, we believe that the future belongs to the leaders who can align influence, insight, and innovation. And I love the fact that we have Danielle, one of the members, who talks so passionately about what she's implementing to create more value for her business users, her clientele, her organization. So thank you everybody for joining. I love seeing all of you attend, ask questions, be engaged. Danielle and me are always on LinkedIn, so feel free to send us a note if you have a question from today's conversation. And I would love to see you next time. We are always here on Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So keep building the responsible future. We'll see you next time on Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the WILDA AI Talk Show. Thank you.
Thank you, Asha.
Thank you.